you know, what we, and nothing's really getting better. We only ever get worse. So like, we need to go back in time and see how they were doing it and how they were getting things to last, you know, thousands of years ago.
Hey guys, it's Matt. In just about a minute, I'm going to show you some clips from another YouTube channel. It's a channel that I watch. I promise you, this is not a stove video. This is a study of reality video. If you're driving or something, you don't need to see any pictures or any video or any images that I'll show later. For those that study the adversary like we do, we notice repeating themes, right? And you know what I've been into recently, whether it be the Russian stove building or masonry or bringing back the old techniques using lime mortar, which was used on the old castles. We see repeating themes in history. With the one we're focusing on here is the ancient ways were lost. The old ways of doing things were lost. So here, this person totally sees notnilC or sees what's happening, doesn't blame notnilC, certainly would think our explanations for why all the ancient knowledge and secrets were lost, they would think we're crazy, of course. But we notice these repeating themes in reality. We notice this sort of thing across the board, how everything gets worse. Almost basically nothing out in society and culture gets better. It always gets worse. People like us, the 1% of the 1% of whatever our small minority is, we see this as by design. We see this thing here, which is our spiritual adversary. Somebody like Chad, of course, I'm going to show you, just give me 20 more seconds. He would think we're crazy, of course. But what's happened in his own industry, he'll talk about things, I'll show you some clips. The way of doing this was lost. And if it was just his industry, yes, but we see this across the board. And if you look down at it from 100,000 feet, this is the way the dark reality operates, to remove everything from us that was once good. Yeah, specifically, this is about a bricklayer and a guy. This person is as good at chimney repair, ancient or old style, 1800s ancient or old chimney restoration. He's as good as anybody. If you know, this person knows his trade, but he also is noticing some things, how ancient techniques are just starting to be relearned again. And we see this, you and I, in terms of those that study reality, we see this across the board. And it has notnilC written all over it. Those that make videos about reset, which I don't, that's not me. Okay, I don't, the reset's already happened. And whatever reset there is, we didn't notice it. It's a different type of reset. I'll talk about that in a video in the future. But for those that talk about reset and make videos about it, this is the greatest evidence. This type of thing is the greatest evidence of all time to help your cause. And I wonder if they even talk about it. They'll show you architecture, old buildings, and talk reset. But do they show things like this? So in a way, this video is helping them. But I don't buy into the definition of reset cataclysm like these YouTube channels do, as you know. All right, guys, let me show you a few things. Listen to the way he talks about how the old methods are gone or lost. I'll come back, show you a few more clips. And again, it's not a stove video. It's a study of notnilC video.
And now everything's kind of switched, and now they're realizing that all these buildings were built with quicklime mortar, which makes a lot more sense. You always find those small little bits.
He says now we're realizing, or now they're realizing, that some of the old buildings and ancient structures and even old buildings from the 1700s were built with a quicklime, which is not the crap at Lowe's and Home Depot. Without notnilC, there's no possible way all this could have been lost. And he tries to explain it. The men that knew this went off to the world wars. There always has to be an explanation that fits in the box or within the bookends of reality. We've abandoned the bookends of reality. We see what we call notnilC. If this Chad saw this video, he would think we're insane, but he hasn't been studying it for 10 years as we have. Chad, if you do see this video, the ancient techniques or what was once good has been lost across the board in about 1,000 different areas. That's just not possible. That's not a coincidence. You see only your own industry, which is the mortar and the restoration of old buildings. But this has happened across the board.
This lime mortar, we have mill buildings around here. They've been around here for hundreds of years. They look fantastic still. Yeah, we lost all this. I don't know exactly what it was. It was when Portland cement came around and everybody thought it was so great. And that combined with the world wars, where we lost all our skilled tradesmen, fathers, brothers, sons, uncle, like, all these people that would have passed these trades down and their trade secrets, the mortar mixes, how to mix them. And it was such a simple thing back then that people just didn't write about it. Everybody knew how it was done. And so now we've lost it. And nothing's really getting better. We only ever get worse. So, like, we need to go back in time and see how they were doing it and how they were getting things to last, thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago, they were using this lime mortar, and they were doing it the same exact way. They were mixing quicklime mortar. And humans have been doing that for thousands of years, and it's tried and tested, and it definitely is the best method, and we've lost it, which is a shame.
One of the ways this thing here that we study has been able to pull off as much as it has been able to pull off is through what you've heard the term many times in our community, compartmentalization. It's used too much. It's used as an excuse. But in this case, it's true. If you are a restoration expert, or chimney rebuilds, mortar, bricklayer, and now the old techniques using lime, hydrated lime is what's in Home Depot and Lowe's. It's total crap. It's mixed with cement as an emulsifier. The old techniques are quicklime, lime putty, and to a lesser degree, a hydraulic lime. You don't need those details. So this lime revolution, the old ways are being rediscovered. And from a compartmentalization standpoint, if this is your industry, it was just lost. And it makes sense. On each individual case and example makes sense why it was lost. And it's also incredibly green. This is incredible irony. We'll talk about it a little bit later. It's incredibly green. If you use the lime, it goes back into the earth via carbon dioxide reaction, becomes a completely natural substance, where a giant cement parking lot will sit for potentially millions of years and not blend back in with the environment. If the Al Gores of the world were legitimate, then they would have been having everybody go to the lime construction, which is literally just a CO2 and water reaction with limestone. They would have had this push would have been 30 or 40 years ago if they were legitimate about all this green stuff. So if this is all you do, though, it's compartmentalization. Well, there's got to be a reason why. Well, the Portland cement came in, and that was hard, and everybody that really knew the old techniques, they were killed in the wars. Nobody wrote it down. It's just good enough to explain it away if that's your industry. But see, we back up and look at society and culture in general, and when it's happened, like at least hundreds of times across the board, the old ways were better. The techniques have been lost. It's not a coincidence anymore. It's not a coincidence anymore when the old techniques are better, when it's been lost 10 times in a row. When it's hundreds of times in a row, it's not a coincidence. I'm sorry if anybody stumbled upon this video. It takes a few years to understand it. It's what we call notnilC.
Because the Portland cement, like, we had 100 years sample size of it. So a tiny little bit compared to thousands of years of, structural integrity. And what we're building now is just, most of it's garbage. Everything's built to last 35 to 50 years. We're putting, thin brick, thin saw cut brick on metal panels on the side of buildings, held on with clips and caulking, and then we'll point a little bit of mortar in. The whole thing's a joke. Architects and engineers have gotten out of hand, and they need to go back and learn from the old ways. That's the only way we're going to start getting better again. I don't know anybody I've ever come across that has ever used a quicklime mortar or even a lime mortar. Not real lime. Everybody uses, hydrated lime.
So Chad says he doesn't know of anybody, and he's speaking for similar tradesmen in the United States or North America, trade shows, etc., that uses lime in the proper traditional way. The lime putty, the quicklime. I'll show you the exothermic reaction. If you don't mix it, if you don't know what you're doing and you put it in a bucket and it goes to 800 degrees incorrectly, it can blow up in your face. I'll show you a little bit about what Chad and the experiment he's running in the end. But he's experimenting on the old techniques that, of course, were just all lost. All lost. Nobody wrote it down. And you have to have an explanation as to why everything was lost. Well, people went off to war. Nobody wrote it down. When you really think that through or really challenge that doesn't make any sense, but you have to have a reason. Somebody like Chad or somebody in the regular world isn't going to believe notnilC. They're not going to believe there's a spiritual adversary working against trying to push the way of life through society and culture down towards its hell realm where it's most comfortable. They would think we're insane. Nobody would believe that. So in each industry group or in every situation where the old techniques were lost, well, there has to be a reason for it. And it's just our situation here. Everything else in society and culture is improving, right? Well, only in one area, technology. And, improve is not quite the right word, but you know what I mean. There's only one area where something gets better and better and better via an X and Y graph, goes up in a pretty much a straight line. That's technology or the internet and AI. Everything else of the old techniques gets worse. And Chad even says it. I'm not sure if I showed you this clip by now, but he says, everything's getting worse or something like that. So, we observe society and culture and this dark influence on society and culture as a whole. So we would say, so let me get this straight, just even for your own industry, not that, I would say to Chad or anybody else, we've noticed what you're noticing in your industry, say in hundreds of different areas. And once it's, again, more than 10, it's not a coincidence any longer. There's no way the society, Western society and culture loses what was best in terms of the old techniques, even medicine to a degree. There's Chinese or ancient, it's Asian remedies and herbal remedies that work, that are natural, that would never be presented to a doctor or an intern or a resident that went through a U.S. medical college. That's all. Oh, that's been lost too. Everything's been lost. What a coincidence. Well, it's not a coincidence once it's more than 10 things in a row.
The whole lime thing, I like the idea of this lime revolution and starting to build with lime again. It's a better way of building, in my opinion. Obviously,
if I present you with some examples, say on the other side, things that should have been lost 1,000 years ago, yet still remain kind of as maybe stuffed Lenins or Humpty Dumptys, then it really gets ridiculous how these old techniques, building with lime and lime putty, were lost. So let's just take Plato's allegory of the cave. So let me get this straight. There's this guy that lived, he wrote down a lot of did he have any thoughts of his own, or did he just take notes of what Socrates said? He recorded a lot of Socrates, for instance. He's probably a little smarter than me, so he probably had some thoughts of his own. He writes down Plato's allegory of the cave. Nobody can explain, well, how did that survive thousands of years and is taught and mentioned in college classrooms today? And there's thousands of examples like this. The works of Herodotus outlines, I'll put into a movie reference everybody can understand. All I understand is movies. The movie 300, we are Sparta. 300, but that's the hot gates. They're fighting off the Persians. Well, that all came from the very detailed works of Herodotus, where if you read Herodotus, it's quite ridiculous. Outlines every little detail of how the Persian armies moved through Greece, Athens and Sparta, and the Battle of Thermopylae and the Hot Gates. And he even said, Herodotus will write something, and when the army moved to this location, there was a guy named this, and he got up and sang a song. Well, who would know that? It's just this level of detail that's not possible, in my opinion. Well, Matt, he filled in the gaps. Okay, maybe. Nevertheless, let's not lose the point here. All those details exist. What about Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey? That's like, how old is that? To me, I don't know, but it's probably like 100 million years before the birth of Christ or something. Homer, the whole Iliad, the whole Odyssey. How was all that carried through time? But basic building techniques about how to use a lime putty, it's a simple limestone reaction in heat. That was all lost. I mean, I don't blame Chad. You have to. You have to have a way that fits inside, or a reason that fits inside your reality bookends as to why this was lost. If I walked around the corner and said, Chad, let me tell you about notnilC. Who the hell are you? Get out of here before I call the police. NotnilC, a spiritual adversary that's trying to harm everything except technology. You're out of your mind, boy. Get. They wouldn't. He's not going to buy what we have to say on this. But Chad, if anybody sends this to you, listen, we've been doing this a long time. studying the spiritual adversary. But we're not just simples and idiots in this regard. We have thousands of different examples in terms of observing how this thing works. It destroys everything that was once good across the board, except tech, and it pushes it. Oh, that's wonderful tech. It would if it's something that can contribute to pushing forth its hell realms, then it does everything it can to push that forward, like tech and AI and phones and all that bullshit. Twitch and Twitter, it will give you the best that it can do there. Gillette, the best a man can get. But in terms of things that make life worth living, or like, how about the family life? Has it improved that? Like, have you ever seen the Waltons? Do people live like that, where the grandparents are in the home teaching little kids? Or it's like, no, everybody's all spread out, the families have been completely broken apart. And if they weren't completely destroyed and broken apart, what happened and what they put forth in 2020 did all that. So, guys, look, all these, like, just go back to Plato's allegory of the cave. So that was carried forward. We have that, but we lost this, and all the other stuff just lost. And I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, it's intentional. Why can't nobody wrote it down anywhere? That whatever, how to use lime for not just proper building techniques, but it's completely green. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Completely green. It exposes the whole Al Gore thing. And I'm not going to say the hobo codes, because if anybody's stumbling upon this, they'll say this guy's truly insane and turn me off. So we'll just, you know what I'm talking about. We'll leave that behind. But the Nag Hammadi ancient texts were found in the 40s. Oh, look what I got! There was this whole ancient, what is it? Some sort of Gnostic text or something related to Christianity. I don't know what it is. I don't get into all that. I don't. To me, if somebody holds it up, look what I found. I'm a little skeptical. Someone says, look what I found. Where'd you get that? Under a rock? And then was it the Book of Enoch was kind of found in the similar time, or in the 40s? Why you digging in the dirt there, boy? There's something here. Stop digging in the dirt again, boy. Look what I found. The Book of Enoch. Oh, I'm sorry. When it's a little bit too much of a story, then to me it's a story. I'm sorry. I believe somebody. Let's just say it's right. So that was found. These incredibly important, but just how to basically mix lime, a basic heat process, with seashells or limestone to stack bricks. That was all lost. It doesn't really add up, does it?
There we go. Now you can see. I don't know. It stops at like 800 degrees, so it's red lined.
I showed you the boiling bucket, so let me explain just for a minute and a half what's going on here, and I'll keep the chemistry lesson to a minimum. I'll keep it as interesting as possible, and I'll be quick. But the most important part is the chemistry here is so simple, there's no possible way this could have been lost. It's literally high school chemistry. No possible way this could have been lost. NotnilC scientists have no idea. No. If it was lost intentionally. I mean, the simplicity of this proves it. All right, proves it. Okay, 1.5 minutes or so on the chemistry, just to prove there's no way this could have been lost. You take seashells, limestone, whatever, and this is, again, like Chad says, we go on thousands of years. The old castles, the old cathedrals. You heat it to a certain temperature over a certain amount of time. The old kilns, there's still old kilns, lime production kilns in the United States, North America, but the old kilns are all over Europe. So it can be seashells, limestone, rocks. It's all the similar thing. It produces what's called quick lime. There's a chemical process that has removed certain things from it. Okay, I'm not an expert at this. But it's so desperate to get the water back in some sort of exothermic heat, carbon dioxide reaction. So desperate to, say, recreate its original bonds, that when you add the water, you just basically, it has to back up for 20 minutes. It's so violent, it goes to 800 or more degrees to restore its original nature. But the point is, and let me wrap this up, you end up, if you add this to sand, you have this incredible workable mortar that actually uses carbon dioxide, takes the carbon dioxide from the air to help set itself up. And it breathes with the environment, and it allows water to come in and slowly go out without cracking all the stone and brick around it. If there was anything real about Al Gore, they would have been on this 30, 40 years ago, saying we need to build with lime, not concrete, because you build your mall, whatever that, you build your bullshit Galleria in Los Angeles that nobody wants to shop there anymore, and then you got like 80 million tons of concrete that just sits there. And that, or if you want to redo that part of the town or city with, of course, apartments, that's all that can be built today, just apartments. Then you have to put it in a landfill, and then it sits there. The lime building, it literally goes back perfectly into the environment. This by itself exposes the entire Al Gore green movement as being a fraud, because you wouldn't have Portland cement anymore. They would have gone back to this 40 years and go, wait a second, this lime through the carbon dioxide cycle, it literally returns. Okay, enough chemistry, etc. So it's high school chemistry. You get an incredible product. You just have to take your quicklime powder to your job site. You mix it there. You might have to wait 30 minutes for the heat reaction to occur. You add certain things, and you have an incredible product that initially, for like building a railroad bridge or whatever, as Chad says, it's not as strong. So maybe for the railroad bridge where there's 100 railroad cars and thousands of tons, maybe you have to use some form of concrete. But for your brick house, your stone house, or whatever it is, it should be 90% lime. And again, not the crap. Hydrated lime that's in Lowe's and Home Depot in the U.S. stores is not this. They continue to use the hydraulic lime, which is much closer to this. But even when they're restoring the old castles and things, they're using a lime putty, which is better, but not this. This is the original quicklime. And again, of course, it's all lost. And you're just if you think there's a sinister reason for that, you must be one of those people. I've heard about you people. Oh, but the Roman concrete was lost too. The Roman concrete using the sea not the sea salt, but the sea water for the salt in the water, and the aggregate like lava rock or pumice. So that's all been lost too. Nobody wrote it down. It was all lost. And you have to come up with good reasons. Well, men went off to war, and those that knew. But what about the thousands or tens of thousands of men that were a little older that knew the techniques that didn't go to war? And it's not. I don't blame Chad for trying to find a reason for it, because again, no normal person's going to say, "Oh, you guys talking about notnilC? Oh, now I see your point. I'm down with the dark reality here that's trying to destroy me spiritually." Nobody's going to see that. That's insane. We have all the evidence in the world. We have thousands and thousands of pages of evidence, and they still don't believe a word we say. I mean, in our evidence lines up. Usually, whenever you do a case-by-case example, our evidence actually lines up with common sense more than everybody that knew just went off to war. Anyway, so this is just one more example.
And supposedly, we get better adhesion and a better, more workable mortar, and even a stronger mortar, maybe, doing it that way, and possibly even better capillaries in the lime, so more breathable.
So Chad is an expert at this, and you've heard in several cases he's saying this is better. The old techniques are better. And then the notnilC is in love with its old castles and buildings and cathedrals. And you better believe when they restore that, they're using the old lime techniques. I'll try to find a clip if I can. It's going to be hard for me to find, but I can prove it to you if I remember the clip that I want to go back and find for you. The notnilC wants their old buildings and all their cathedrals done properly. But they'll use the old, the lime techniques. It doesn't get out to just the guy and the girl that just works the regular job. Chad says they're rediscovering this. That sort of language, which again, if that's your only example, again, it doesn't. It makes sense if that's your only example. But if we have hundreds of these examples as we do, it doesn't make sense unless it's, as usual, intentionally notnilC by design. It makes everything worse. It degrades everything. Right from how to put bricks together and stack stone with mortar, right through what's considered to be a family, or what's considered to be your gender. It destroys everything, right up to things that 10 years ago or 15 years ago we would have thought could not be destroyed. 25 years ago. Well, how could it possibly destroy if people decide to have a family and kids? So that's their own decision. How could this thing? I don't believe in this thing that you call notnilC, Matt, but it couldn't destroy that. It's destroyed that, and then did it put its feet up and say, "Oh, we've done enough"? No, it's destroying what you believe your own your own gender to be. What? It can't get to that. And because it never stops, what's next? This is a worthy adversary, folks. I don't know. It is so amazing, but it's so. Here's why people can't see it. One is they're sleeping on King Kong's back. I love this example. Well, honey, did we get a new shag rug and carpet? And no, it's King Kong's back. He can't see it. It's just a brown, blackish carpet. He's too close to it. Nobody can see it, and it's just too hard via people's worldview to accept the theories that we put forth. There's this thing here working again. Matt. Matt, if you look at all your little case by case examples, there's a good reason why the people that knew how to do this went off to war. Well, that's why that might be, Matt. If I hear you yelling at me, that might be one of the reasons they cooked up these wars. So some of these men that do know these things, and they can't get all of them. But what did he say? Cooked up these wars? This guy's a lunatic. Some bricklayer came upon this. This guy's a lunatic. We could do a whole new series even just called what was once great in terms of technique or how to implement something into society and culture. It was all lost. And we could do a whole new series. Not another series, Matt, that you're going to forget about in a few weeks from Braveheart. Your series are a waste of time, Campbell. Your meetings are a waste of time, Campbell. If you can stay out of the troubles, you may court my daughter. Didn't I just prove it? No, Wallace. Sorry, I told you there's no original thought from even in this video. Everything came from another YouTube video or from a movie.
It's not as strong as like these Type S motors that everybody are using, and engineers love that Type S motor because it's structural, like it's got this high PSI to it. The problem is that motor doesn't drain. It can't handle water, so you're always going to be constantly damp. And then people are going to seal the chimneys, they seal the brickwork, thinking that you can keep water out. Well, you got to start asking different questions and having a different approach. My approach has become now, you can't keep water out. Water will find a way. What we want to do is let water escape once it gets there. So if you're a young engineer that's looking at this, or an architect that's going to specify something, you guys have to start thinking about water coming out of the system, okay? Because that's more important, because the brick and the mortar we're using now hold too much moisture and everything's too hard. If you live in an environment where there's freeze-thaw, stuff will blow up.
Well, he certainly doesn't mean blow up. He's just a way of saying will crack. Water gets in your chimney, freeze, thaw. It cannot escape through the joints. Will crack the brick, crack the mortar. The rule in building with brick or stone, always use a mortar at the very minimum that is softer than the main structure, softer than the brick you're using, which is a huge differences between a regular brick and a paver, whatever type of stone you're using. Always use mortar that is softer. If you use mortar that's harder, like a Type S or whatever, Matt, what are you talking? Nobody wants this technical bullshit. And put Chad back on, Matt. Nobody, and now that we see a comparison, some reasonable person making a presentation, we don't want your broke ass. Put Chad back on, Matt. I'll show you another clip from Chad. You want me to turn this into just nothing but mirroring Chad's chimney repair? I could do that. That would make my life a lot easier. I don't know if I'd be around very long. Well, I'm getting negative subscribers anyway per month. That's because you're nuts, boy, with all this notnilC bullshit. Oh yeah. There's a dark, sinister force out to destroy everything. You people should be ashamed of yourself. I know, and I am.
And the second somebody goes to repoint those with new mortar, they start falling apart. The mortar does get soft after 150 years, and you could repoint it with lime mortar, but the structure's so good. They come along with this Portland-based mortar, and they ruin the whole building, and they don't even know it, which is a shame. They're only going to find out inside of a few years when everything starts failing.
Okay, guys, just to summarize where we are And there's definitely some more things I want to show you and talk about. We're not done by any means. But the only way this makes sense, that it was lost, the only way this makes sense is if whatever they were using in the old days to do the Cathedral of Cologne was some ancient, secret, highly complicated formula that can't be replicated, that nobody wrote down, like those giant math problems that Matt Damon solved in Good Will Hunting on the board and all this. But you know what it is? It's the exact opposite of that. I said before, it might be like, I always say like 10th grade chemistry, because that's when I took chemistry. I didn't understand a bit of it. You put these valence bonds and this electron's trying to escape. I don't understand none of it. What the hell is this? Now, I got an A in the class because I just memorized this shit and spit it back, but I didn't know what I was doing. This wants to lose electrons, and it's just, I'm more of a verbal English type person, but that math and chemistry and physics, I didn't have a clue. But anyway, but most normal people that weren't like me, they literally can, within 5 minutes, understand the simple chemical reaction that wants to take place when you remove certain structure or burn limestone or burn seashells, and then you just simply restore the state that it wants to go back to via water. It's so simple. There's nothing to lose. So, in other words, the only way to lose it is if it was done intentionally. So, yes, if anybody's screaming at me, will you bring in a Portland cement and these super hard concretes, super hard cements? And initially, engineers and people that build buildings and bridges would be very impressed because of the ability to hold a large train on a bridge. But if there was anybody in good government working for us, within 15 years or 20 years, they would have seen, within 3 years, Chad says, you see how the water gets in, there's nowhere for it to go, and just everything starts falling apart. Yet we're still doing this. Portland cement came in about 100 years ago or something. They would have used it, they would have learned their lessons, within 3 or 5 years, gone back to the old lime. Everybody would still be using it today. This is common sense. It proves notnilC. This video is proof of notnilC series. I should put it in that bucket. It's proof of notnilC. And the cements where that sort of structural soundness was needed for train bridges or certain area, like the foundations of skyscrapers, would still be used, but it would be 90% less than what it's used today. And what really gives it away is the green movement has no clue about anything we're even talking about here. And like the good government doesn't know that the using lime is 100% part of the carbon dioxide cycle of the earth. In fact, certain lime mortars, they need to use the carbon dioxide from the air. They will take it from the air. Talk about greenhouse gases. They need to put taxes on cow farts. You build with lime and it'll be pulling in hundreds of millions of tons of CO2. We don't need your Al Gore cow fart taxes no more. The mortar itself pulls it in. It needs it to solidify, to cure over a long period of time. Curing for certain types of lime can be months. Even some types of concrete can be up to 30 days. And that curing process is pulling carbon dioxide. But I bet Al the Boer has never mentioned it once. Not once. Gives everything away right there. It's not some secret. This is 5th grade chemistry. Matt, you keep pushing you keep pushing it down, keep over-exaggerating. They don't take chemistry in 5th grade. What's next, Matt? Kindergarten chemistry? Yeah, it is. It is. You could show, like Matt Damon, remember he put those little dots or whatever, and you could show the damn chemistry to a 1st grader, and they could just, like Matt Damon on the board, just say, I think this electron wants to go here. They could do it. I'm not even joking.
Let's go back to Conway Castle, where they were using lime to restore that castle, and then I'll do a little demonstration again. So if you want to learn how to do something in a certain area, you got to go talk to the local guys. So that's what we're going to do now. Yeah. I'm actually a stonemason from Pennsylvania, United States. Yeah. So what are you doing? You're just getting out all the bad stuff?
Yeah, only old stuff.
And what are you going to fill it in with?
Lime. Breathable lime.
Right. I'm with these guys from Wales, and they're taking this all out. Explain that, how you're doing that.
We're taking the old lime out.
Right.
And we pointing it with a new lime. And yeah.
restore it to its original
And this
condition. So it'll be stronger, and hopefully in about 1,000 years' time it'll still be here.
Okay, and
So-
tell me about the lime you use.
It's hydraulic lime. It's mixed with 2 soft sand, 1 sharp sand, and a bucket of lime to the mixture. It's gauged. So we mix it up here, dry, then we wet it to suit, and then we spray here with water so it sticks, then we let it go off, and then we brush it, and then brush it again. And we cut the size in so it looks magnifico.
Magnifico.
I don't know if you caught that on the castles. I mean, in the UK or Ireland, all over Europe, they're using mostly lime putty and hydraulic lime. Again, what we have in the United States is called hydrated lime. It's absolute crap. I guess you have to still call it lime. You can get hydraulic lime in the United States, but it's hard to get. It's much easier to get in Europe because there's just so much restoration of buildings, literally over 1,000 years old, that the market for it is much, much larger. Here, notnilC wants, you have to redo your chimney? Use Portland cement and Type N and Type S mortar products, cement, and all this crap that'll just break apart once the freeze and thaw cycles come. So notnilC knows what it's doing. It loves its old castles. It loves that it's going to use the proper stuff. It can't. There's so much. There's thousands and thousands of workers all over Europe every day, like these guys, just constant restoration. You can't hide a $1 billion hydraulic lime market where they've basically hidden it in the United States. Yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And that is not as good from the ancient standpoint as lime putty, and it's not as good as what Chad was playing around with, the original, the quick lime, the lime that the reaction, that high exothermic heat reaction has already taken place in the lime that these guys are using. They just mix it with water, regular sand. Sharp sand just means a bigger rock or bigger aggregate, something like, look at the type of rock they're using. 2 parts sand, 1 part sharp sand, water, and to the 1 part lime, hydraulic. So that is close to, quote, real lime, but they're still not using quick lime, which is what Chad was playing around with. That's all lost. That's all. And it's even these guys, when they point the castle or repoint the castle, that lime is still drawing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to harden up for months.
Как мне кажется, современными печниками. Самое раннее изображение похожей печи можно увидеть у русского архитектора Львова, опубликованное примерно в 1795 году. Живший и работавший в России немецкий ученый в то время Франц Людвиг.
In terms of the old ways of being lost or intentionally covered up, I noticed the same theme in all the Russian stove videos that I've watched. This person's channel in particular tries to rediscover the old ways, pulls out old books from the Soviet Union. Well, how are these even stove building techniques? How are they lost? Well, there's different theories, but again, we see repeating themes. And this person is not a stove builder as much as a stove historian. We'll dive back and this is what used to be built, or this is what was built in the old Siberian villages, or this is how they used to do it here or there. And the theme that runs through all of this is similar to what we just looked at with Chad. The old ways have been lost, and there's a small group trying to bring the knowledge back. How many times have we noticed this sort of thing? So offering up a real simple test almost that gives reality away, is the particular person, minion, loser, low life, whatever it might be, like this person, is it trying to push the new ways forward? Or is it trying to restore the old or the ancient or what was once good? I propose there's not one sort of caricature like this absolute retard. There's not one notnilC minion that is pushing the old ways or restoration. Therefore, if somebody is pushing the old ways or restoration, or this is how they used to heal people with this sort of leaf or plant, or if somebody's pushing forth the old ways, they're not Longshanks, they're not of notnilC. They're a spiritual entity of the highest order here. It's basically like a litmus test, whatever that is. If you find somebody that is a proponent or a frontman idiot like this person for the new ways, the new technology, leaving behind the old, then it's a notnilC minion. And you basically can just turn around and run in the other direction. Thanks for listening.